question that I get all the time is, Greg, how do I get an LLC started? I know that it's easy to get hung up when trying to decide which business entity to go with. So in this video, I'll try and help by breaking down what an LLC is and who it's right for, and then show 3 ways that you can set up an LLC, 2 of which you can do yourself and not have to pay an attorney. I'm Greg Bohl, and in today's video, I'm going to break down the main things that you need to know about setting up an LLC. I've helped hundreds of people get their businesses started, and after watching this video, you should have a pretty clean and clear understanding of how to set up your LLC correctly. If you've been searching for how to start an LLC online, you may see that most people are going to say the LLC is the best entity for your business without knowing anything about you and your business. By the way, they'll probably tell you that you really need to register with the entity formation company that they recommend. And nothing against entity formation companies, because they are a great choice for some people, as it can make starting an LLC easier in some states, but the reason everyone is telling you to do this is because they get a commission if you use their link. Not exactly unbiased information. In a few minutes, I'll give you 3 ways that you can use to set up an LLC so you can make the choice that's right for you. Let's first talk about what an LLC is and why you may want one. The LLC is one of 4 main business structures that an entrepreneur is generally going to choose from. These include the sole proprietorship, the partnership, the corporation, and the LLC. The sole proprietorship and partnership are business structures that are considered legally the same as the business owner. As you may have guessed, a sole proprietorship is a business with just one owner, while a partnership is a business that has more than one owner. These entities are pretty similar legally and are the least expensive to start and maintain, as you don't normally have to register them with the government. The downside is that if a sole proprietorship or partnership business is sued, the owner's personal assets are at risk. On the other hand, the LLC and the corporation too are business entities that are legally separate from the owners, as they have to be registered through a state agency. The main benefit here is that if a corp or LLC is sued, unlike the sole proprietorship or partnership where the business and the owner's assets are the same legally, the owner's personal assets are generally protected under the corporation or LLC unless they do something negligent. So this means that things like your house, your cars, and other personal assets are likely going to be safe. In my opinion, and just so you know, I'm not an attorney, so take this information for what it's worth, but there are a lot of similarities between the LLC and the corporation. The LLC is usually a better choice for most small businesses over a corporation, unless that business will have a lot of investors, because the corporation has more options for ownership. But the corporation is generally more complex to set up and administer. Something you will undoubtedly come across when researching the benefits of the LLC or corporation is someone saying that the owners aren't personally liable for the debts of the entity. And this is not completely true. If your LLC fails and you owe suppliers, you probably won't have to pay back those debts. However, if you get a business loan, you're going to be 99.9% likely to be required to sign a personal guarantee with the bank, whether it's an SBA-backed loan or not. So if the LLC fails, the owners are still on the hook personally to pay the loan back. I also want to address another common misconception that many people have about the LLC, which is that the LLC will save them money in taxes. And this is a very complex subject, and the answer is going to be different depending on a number of factors. But generally, when an LLC is making somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 in profits, and the LLC has also made the corporation tax election with the IRS, you can then distribute some of those profits to the owners. These distributions won't be taxed as salary or self-employment income, which is a 15.3% savings, which can be a significant amount of money. Till then, you are generally better off with the standard IRS tax status, which is where the LLC is taxed as a sole proprietorship for a single member LLC or a partnership for a multi-owner LLC, because otherwise the owner has to take what's called a reasonable salary according to the IRS and then pay unemployment and payroll taxes. Your eyes are probably now glazed over listening to all this tax stuff about the LLC, but something I do want to leave you with is that a great benefit of an LLC is that you can change your tax status after starting the LLC. So if you aren't sure, or maybe you're not ready to talk with a CPA yet, most people will probably want to stick with the default tax status until the time is right to make the change. I'm not an accountant either, so you should probably get some tax advice from a professional rather than take my word for it. So to wrap this up, I think the LLC is the best choice for most small businesses because of the liability protection and potential for tax savings. If you're starting a side hustle and have a little likelihood of having a product or service that may harm someone, the sole proprietorship is also a great choice, and especially because it costs much less than the LLC or corporation, and it's easier to run. All right, if you are still watching because you feel the limited liability company is the right entity for your business, let's talk about registering an LLC. But before doing so, there are a couple things to think about before registering. First is the name. Every state requires the LLC to have a name that is different from other LLCs in the state. Before trying to register, I recommend doing a name search with the state agency that registers LLCs, which is normally the Secretary of State or something similar, and see if the name that you want is available. If you aren't sure how to do this, I have more information over at startingyourbusiness.com. Next, you should think about the registered agent, which is also called a statutory agent in a few states, but it's the same thing. A registered agent is a person or service that serves as a central point of contact for the entity and will receive a legal notice if the entity is sued. Every state requires a corporation or LLC to have a registered agent, and basically the main requirements of the agent include being at a specific address during normal business hours. A lot of times the owner is the registered agent just because of the cost, and they're going to be at that address anyway. But some people hire a registered agent service so that they don't have to worry about being available, or maybe they don't want their name and home address listed as a registered agent. Now that we have those out of the way, let's get into the 3 ways to start an LLC. The first option is also the most expensive, but provides the best protection, which is hiring an attorney. And look, I know it gets costly when starting a business, but especially if you are going to have investors or a business that is complex or potentially has a product or service that could lead to a lawsuit, don't form your LLC yourself. The process of setting up an LLC is pretty straightforward, but there are several things that an attorney will do to make sure the LLC's owners are completely covered. Figure on an attorney costing between $500 at a minimum plus the state fee to register the LLC, which depending on the state, the registration fee is typically between $40 and $500, but the attorney can be well over a few $1,000s depending on how complex your business is going to be. In the grand scheme, this isn't a lot of money for getting started, and I can guarantee that if you do your LLC formation yourself and you make a mistake, it's going to cost a lot more than hiring an attorney from the beginning. Option number 2 is directly creating an LLC through your state. You have the choice of a paper form, and most states also allow for online filing. There are a few states that do a really good job with their online system, while others, well, it's a state agency, and I'm going to leave it at that. I have step-by-step guides on how you can register an LLC in every state at startingyourbusiness.com. All you're going to pay is the state fee, and while some states are easier than others, very few are going to provide any tips on how to help out if you get stuck or have a question. The last option is using an entity formation service. The formation services are a nice middle ground between an attorney and doing it yourself, as they provide guidance and a customer service team to answer questions along the way. There are a few formation services that have a basic package where they only charge you the state fee in hopes of you using some of their other services down the line as your business grows, and some services charge a fee for all their services. They have some more expensive packages as well, but the free service is fine for most people, as the add-ons are things you could do yourself anyway. There are a couple of free services that I like. Both InkFile and Zen Business offer a free service where you only pay the state fee. They both have good customer support, and they both have upsells too. The upsells are much better on InkFile than they are on Zen Business, but Zen Business offers beginners a little more guidance through the LLC registration process. Both offer a registered agent at no cost in the first year too, which makes for a really good deal if you plan to use one, but InkFile's registered agent service is much less expensive after the first year than what Zen Business charges. When it comes to upsells, unless you're really in a hurry, I wouldn't pay for the expedited processing, and I also wouldn't pay to get an EIN or file the S Corporation tax election, as I show you how to do all that stuff at no cost at startingyourbusiness.com. Another service that I really like is Northwest. I have a discounted link that takes the price from $100 plus state fees down to $39, but in addition to the no-cost registered agent in the first year, why I like them is the additional privacy. For starters, they don't sell your information to business service providers, which results in additional junk mail. Also, when registering, Northwest is the only company that I've come across that lets you use their their address for the initial place of business. And this can be important because if you don't have a business location yet, you will normally have to resort to using your home address since a P.O. box isn't going to be allowed in the registration. Now, instead of your home address being listed on the Secretary of State's website where anyone can look up your name or home address, your information is kept private. So nobody is going to know that you're starting a business, which is a big deal if you're doing this business on the side and don't want the boss to find out, or you don't want disgruntled employees or clients to ever find out where you live. If you aren't sure which one to go with, I have reviews on these services, but like I said, you can also file the articles of organization yourself directly with the Secretary of State. If you get stuck, I break down the terminology and the process step by step at startingabusiness.com. I hope I was able to give you some good information in this video about starting an LLC. If so, I hope you will consider liking and subscribing to this channel. Also, if you have any questions about forming your LLC or starting a business, please head over to startingabusiness.com or ask a question in the comments. Thanks.